I am honored today to have the privilege to talk to not only an artist, but a beacon of light. We have with us in the Vactorverse today, first assistant editor at Skydance Animation, the Alice. Alice, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Trent. How are you?
I am excellent
Nice.
because I'm going to be talking about what is my favorite comic book property of all time today. So I'm really excited to talk to you about Scott Pilgrim. No pressure, because I don't know how what your thoughts are because we didn't discuss it beforehand. So if you didn't like it, that's okay. If it wasn't your cup of tea, that's fine. But I'm very curious to get your thoughts on Scott Pilgrim because we were talking kind of off microphone and as we were planning this and trying to think about okay, what specifically do we want to discuss? And because it's my favorite of all time, I said, "Have you seen Scott Pilgrim? Do you want to talk about Scott Pilgrim?" So I wanted to get your overall take on it. Like, when did you first become aware of Scott Pilgrim, and then just kind of go from there? Like, what was your Scott Pilgrim origin story?
Okay. I don't remember exactly what year the movie came out,
That was
but
2010.
2010. Well, I
Yes.
had never heard of Scott Pilgrim, and I had been a avid comic book reader for most of my adult life. And when I first saw the trailer, it blew me away. I was just like, who are all these people? This looks like a really cool mashup of a video game. What is this? And then I went to go see the movie, was blown away by the comedy, the action, just all the visuals, the story. Like it just brought this new world into my life, and I was just blown away. And subsequently, I just went to look for the comic books because of that. I don't think I finished all of them. I think I read a few and then just kind of fell off, but I love the characters. So it really surprised me when I heard they were making an animated series. And in fact, I hadn't heard that they had made one. I just heard that there was one out, and I was
Ah.
like, what is this? What you know?
Yes.
So I put on the first episode, and like within the first 5 minutes, I'm like, is this just the cartoon version of the movie? Like, why would they do this?
Yes. That's
Uh,
exactly what I was thinking too. Yep.
yeah, and then you keep watching, and then you're like, "Oh, snap. That's
Yes.
interesting." And so, yeah, I actually I finished the series last night, and,
Nice.
I really enjoyed it.
Okay, perfect. Yes, okay.
Yeah,
Whoo! Okay, now I can breathe easy.
yeah,
I can, breathe again because I know that, you are a Scott Pilgrim, I don't know if they have a name. They're not like Swifties. They don't
no.
Pilgrimies, but, I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Yeah,
Mhm,
so that was interesting to me too when I saw the animated series, like you, I was like, "Okay, I mean, I'm enjoying this because it's my favorite, of all time, like, one of my favorite stories of all time." But at the same time, as I was watching that first episode, I was like, why does this exist? Because if it's gonna be a direct adaptation, then I already have number 1, I had the comics, and then I had the movie, so
mhm,
I don't need another adaptation of the same thing. So when they switched it at the end of that first episode, when Scott Pilgrim loses the fight and
uh-huh,
dies, I
uh-huh.
was like my mind was blown. I was like, "This is why this exists. This is great." So, I loved it because I got to spend more time with all those characters that I loved, and I think what's really great about the, animated series and this is coming 13 years after the movie came out, because, like we said, 2010 was when the movie came out,
Yeah,
2023 is when this animated series came out, so it was really cool that they got all the actors to come back and voice their characters. That just kinda shows you
yeah,
how much joy and love that they had when they were filming that movie. But
mhm,
I think the strength of this animated series is that you get to see a different side of the evil exes and
mhm,
Ramona. Like you get to see a lot more where Scott is taken out of the equation pretty much. And then you get to
mhm.
kind of evolve and see all this character growth with all these different characters. So that to me was like the best thing about it, where I felt like in the movie and in the comic, the evil X's, oh, this is the bad guys. I don't like those guys. Then in
Yeah.
the show, I'm like, wait a minute, these guys might be okay. They might just be. I was looking at it through Scott's eyes, or I was looking at it through Ramona's eyes. So I just love that about the show. Was there anything that kind of stood out to you as like, this is why this is great, like this animated show versus just watching the movie over and over and over again?
I love the stylization of
Ah,
the
yes.
characters, the
Yes.
set designs, all the special effects that they did was very stylized. I really
Yes, yes.
enjoyed that. Um, and I haven't researched much about like the company that made it or any of this. I would love to know how early Edgar Wright got involved, like how early was it pitched as like we want all the original voice actors, and
Hmm.
or if that was something that Edgar was like, if you guys want to do this, you should bring in the real, actors and
Yeah, yeah.
really do it.
I would love to see some type of, behind the scenes or making of.
Mhm.
It sucks that the I used to be a big DVD guy, like, whenever a DVD would come out, I would watch every bonus feature, I'd
Yep.
watch the commentaries, like,
Yep.
I would go through the entire thing, and
Oh
I
yeah.
was a sponge for that type of content. So,
Mhm.
in the age of streaming, we just we I think we're losing a lot of those behind the scenes things, because now it'll be like a 1-minute YouTube video that Marvel will put out or somebody will put out, and it's like, "Here's the behind the scenes." It's like, "No, I want more than a minute. I want a
Yeah.
30-minute, hour-long thing."
Yeah.
Um, but I'd be
Director or
curious.
actor commentary Terry was always my favorite thing on the DVD.
Yes, yes.
And I feel
Those
like
were
the
great.
last one I used to be a big fan, well, I'm still a fan of The Good Place, and
Oh, nice.
I bought those DVDs because I wanted the extended episodes. I wanted a director and actor commentary. Yeah, that's always so important to hear how it was made and the intention behind it.
Yeah, I learned so much, like, I wasn't necessarily trying to be a filmmaker or trying to be an actor or anything, but just by watching those behind the scenes on all the DVDs and Blu-rays over the years, it was like, this is my film school, like, I'm learning so
Uh-huh.
much about how these things are made, and I just find those things interesting and fascinating, and, a lot of times my wife will ask me questions, and I'm like, "Well, and I'll get it from the DVD, and she
Mhm.
thinks I made it, like, I knew it already, but I'm like, "No, I got it from the DVD." But I think you're right, like, that those things are so important. I really kind of feel a little bit sad for the streaming generation, like, I think we're going away from that and losing a lot of those things, and
Mhm.
Disney Plus has, like they just came out with, Echo on Disney Plus as the Marvel show for this year, and
Mhm.
there's an Echo making of, which I haven't had a
Mhm.
chance to check out, but they've actually been pretty good about the Marvel and the Star Wars shows
Yeah.
coming out with the making ofs, so I've always kind of, made time for those because it's
Mhm.
I feel like it's a lost art form. They actually did a really good one with Black Panther 2. It was like a 2-hour,
Oh,
like,
wow.
making of and there's, like, they go to Africa and they see the score and they're creating everything. I was like, "This is amazing. Why don't we get
That's
more
so
of these type
cool.
of things?"
Yeah,
But
for sure.
I love all of that stuff, and I wish we had that for Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, which is the animated show on Netflix, because there's so much, like you said, how does this the animation studio, Science Saru is their name, and
Mhm.
they just are so stylized, and it doesn't look like anything else that I've been watching on Netflix or on any other streaming service, and it really takes advantage of the medium, which I'm a huge fan of. Anytime you have a translation of something, like I said, just don't be a direct copy of what I had already experienced. Take
Yeah.
advantage of that format that you're in. And so with this one, with this animated show, they really have the exaggerated motions and anime type of things that come up and their expressions and everything. and that's great because the comic was such a homage to both video games and anime. Like, there was so much stuff in the comic that was like, oh, you could tell Brian Lee O'Malley is a fan of anime and of video games. And so getting to see that come to life in an anime like this really is truly like a Scott Pilgrim anime show,
Yeah.
and I just loved all of that. So that was a huge bonus for me as I was watching. Like, my face was hurting, like I was smiling
All the
the
smiling.
entire time. Yes, it was great. Um,
So I
what
want to ask you, what's your favorite iteration then? Since Scott Pilgrim is your favorite, what's your favorite of the three?
each one of them brings something different, and I think I'm gonna go back to my default answer when someone asks me that for anytime there's an anime or adaptation, I should say, is the original because that is the one that started it all. That's the one that nothing would exist if it wasn't for the original. So
Mhm.
for me, it's the comics, but those actors bring so much to those characters. Each one has a different interpretation for their own character that I didn't have when I was reading the comic originally before the movie existed and then now before the animated series existed. I had a picture of Scott Pilgrim in my mind and it wasn't Michael Cera. I had a
Mhm.
picture of, Lucas Lin. It wasn't Chris Evans.
Mhm.
And I still like out of everybody, Michael Cera is still the one that I'm a little bit like I don't know if I would have cast him because he has such a personality from other things I've seen him in, and it just
Mhm.
doesn't fit Scott for me. But
Mhm.
besides that, I love everything that the actors bring to it, and you know, hearing their voices and hearing their vocal inflections and the way that they interpret the characters are amazing for me. So each one is special in its own right, and this one, as we just talked about, because it changes the story.
Mhm.
That's I'm kinda leaning towards that, like, being my favorite because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, this gives me more of what I already loved." But I
Mhm.
think I'm gonna go with the original comic book series just because it was the first and because it was the thing that started it all. Um, when you were watching it, did you feel like you said you just finished it, last night, right?
Yeah.
Did you feel like that was a good ending to do 8 episodes? Was that satisfying for you, or did you feel like it was either too much or too little? Like, you could have gone 10, 12 episodes. How were you feeling at the end of it?
I felt really good. I feel like they didn't overstay their welcome. Like they paced it very well, and like it felt like it concluded when it should have concluded.
Hmm.
And it was a very sweet way to end it.
Yes. I actually really liked the closure that Scott got with Knives because in the movie, I kind of felt like he comes across not uncaring, but I feel like Knives got the short end of the relationship,
Yeah.
and she felt so innocent, and Scott, like, feels like the not corruption, but, like, he just feels like, "Hey, you shouldn't have been doing that," but with and then just the way that he broke it off with her. With the animated show, he kinda got to go back and say, like, "I was a jerk, I shouldn't have been that
Mhm.
wasn't a way to treat you." So, I really like that aspect of it, and I wonder Brian Lee O'Malley, the original writer of the comic, was involved in the animated series. I wonder if this was kinda like his growth and maturation as a
Mhm.
person, and this is, like
Yeah.
we said, 13 years later, and even from the comic, I wanna say the comic started in, like, '04 or
Mhm.
'05, somewhere around there, and so he's, 20 years removed from that person that he was when he was writing that
Mhm.
and, drawing it, and then where he is now. I wonder if him saying that is kinda like his like I said, his evolution of,
Mhm.
"This is how I would've." I sh there are women that I've left along the way, or there's
Yeah.
partners that I've had that I should have treated them this way, so I like getting that new perspective on characters. Have you had a chance to see any of Invincible on Amazon
I've
Prime Video?
Yeah, I've seen season 1. I haven't
Okay.
started season 2 yet.
That has the same type of feel for me too, because that animated show is coming out like 10, 15 years after the comic series. And
Mhm.
so there's some things that I feel like, oh, this is how they would have did it if this was made today versus 15 years ago. And so they have a new take on it. The original creator, Robert Kirkman, is
Mhm.
involved in the show. And I kind of find that interesting because when I was growing up, I didn't have a lot of things either like from my dad's era or from a previous generation that got a new take on it or a new version, an updated version of it.
Mhm.
So I find this kind of the era that we're in right now, we're getting a lot of like nostalgic things of when we were young. This was the thing that we were watching, like let's say Power Rangers. There's
Mhm.
certain things that they have new comic series, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the same thing,
Yep.
and it's a new like you want to get that new crowd in there, but you also want to get the people who grew up with it as
Mhm.
well. So you want to kind of hit two different audiences. I
Yeah.
just find that to be very interesting. I don't know if there's any like parallels that you have in a franchise that either you watched when you were younger or um, maybe if you had like a family member like, oh, I grew up on this, and now this is the new interpretation of it. Um, is there any, like, shows that you watch or franchises that you kind of have a soft spot for that are kinda like that?
I mean, I think if you just look at the evolution of Spider-Man, like
Ooh,
from
yes,
from when I
yes.
was a kid,
Mm.
like I remember seeing Spider-Man like TV movies and then I would read the newspaper strip
Oh,
that Stan
yes,
Lee
yes,
did, and then
yes,
that was so
yes.
different than from the TV show, and then I would read a comic book, and then that was completely different. So I love that these creators are bringing their voices to all these iterations
Yeah,
of Spider-Man. And I love what you said about Brian Lee O'Malley, like his voice changing over 20 years. Like, this is how he would have dealt with Ramona if that was his girlfriend 20 years ago, and now he's matured and realized, oh, that wasn't very nice, and I could be a better dude.
yeah.
And I love seeing that.
I find that to be fascinating just because even as a reader, even as myself, I have matured. I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago when I was reading it or watching the movie,
Hmm.
and you know, often think about the only constant in life is change. And it's like a lot of times we get kind of stuck in a certain period of time and we're like, oh man, it's going to be like this forever. This the current season that I'm in of life. I right now I have a 2-year old son. He's about to turn 3, and my whole world is like thinking about okay, raising a toddler. These are the shows that you watch. These are the educational materials, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, this is not going to be like that forever. This is a temporary season.
Hmm.
Everything is going to grow and change. So I do find that interesting because when I was reading it at the time, I was not thinking, oh, you know what? In 10, 15 years, I'm going to still be reading this and I'm going to have a completely different take on it. So these properties coming back and continuing to exist, I think the lifespan has been kinda stretched out on a lot of these franchises, but you bring up a great point with Spider-Man. A lot of the Marvel characters, DC characters, whether it's Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, those have been around 50 years, and
Hmm.
each one has their own generation of artists and creators that come on that put their stamp on it and put their voice into the character, and that's what I kinda love about the idea of creations changing and evolving, and they're not the original way that it was created. Spider-Man, he still talks like he was in the 60s. He still, acts like that, and the evolution of Spider-Man and, Grant Morrison is one of my favorite comic book writers, and
Hmm.
he had a book called Super Gods, which I love, and he talks about the idea of superheroes being more real than actual physical concepts because he's one of his examples was okay, Superman existed before I was born. He's going to exist after I'm dead. And the power of the idea is stronger than the physical form of that I inhabit. And I just
Mhm.
find that fascinating that ideas can be so powerful, and Spider-Man is one of the most powerful ideas that has ever been put down. And I am just like you. I grew up on the comics, the animated shows,
Mhm.
the live action 70s show. I was like, this is the only live action Spider-Man I'm ever gonna get, and his weird webs and everything,
On the
the
electric.
special effects. Yes, the electric company. I went crazy when I saw
Yeah.
that, just because it was like it wasn't like today when you could watch 5, 6 different live action Spider-Man movies. It was like that was all we had at the time. So
Mhm.
Electric
Yes.
Company, it was like that is amazing. So I just love that kind of idea and the evolution and creation of all these different characters. Um, did you have anything in this animated show that um, you felt like they could have did better, or it just didn't even if you didn't like it, like, let's just say you were lukewarm, like, "Eh, I don't know about that necessarily." Um, anything that stood out to you? And you don't have to have anything, but I was just curious.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Like it was just so I felt like it was a really tightly done
Hmm,
show, like a tight episodes and they're
yeah,
just 30 minutes each. Like they really had it down to a little science, I think.
yeah. I'm really glad the way that it turned out. Like you said, I didn't feel like there was any filler, like there was any
Mhm.
padding in any of the episodes, and the only reason I wanted it to go longer was just because I wanted more, like, I wanted to spend
Right.
more time. It wasn't necessarily like, "Oh, they left something out," or, it felt like they were cutting anything short. It was just like, "I want more," and that's what
Yeah.
even this show in general existing was, like,
Mhm.
giving me more of that Scott Pilgrim world. So I could not have predicted it would have happened, and I'm so ecstatic that it does exist.
Mhm.
In we're now in 2024, but in 2023 we got this fantastic show. Um, I I really liked how they kind of switched not genres, but like every episode kind of felt like they were playing with something different. Like when they went
Mhm.
into the video rental store, and then they're playing with like the kung fu movies and
Mhm.
going in and out. The skateboarding episode when Lucas Lee is like it's like a music video, and he's fighting all the paparazzi. Like there's so many different things that they jump in and out of. I
Mhm.
just felt like it's just perfect for animation. Like there's nothing else that can capture that spirit
Yeah.
of freedom and flexibility. But man,
I
I
I want to watch it again just to appreciate all the artistry that went into it.
I'm
I'm
look
curious, how many times have you seen it? It
because of my 2-year old, I've only had time to watch it once, but I plan on watching it another time with my wife,
mm,
because she really actually she had a whole change of heart on the franchise. When I first met her, I
mhm.
asked her, I was like, Scott Pilgrim's one of my favorite movies of all time. Have you seen it? And she's like, yeah, I saw it. It was corny. I didn't like that movie. And I was like, corny? What? And so I gave her the comic book, and we watched the movie again. I kind of pointed out like, okay, this is a reference to this. This is a homage to this. And
Mhm.
it became one of her favorite franchises. And
Oh,
so
cool.
I'm looking forward to watching the show with her. But my my son takes up a lot of time bouncing off the walls and running around. So
Yeah.
hopefully in 2024 it's going to be the year that she gets to watch it with me. But I'm like you, like I'm think even just thinking about it, talking about it, I'm like, man, I wish I was watching it now. I want to watch it again. Um, I just have nothing but positive things to say about it. Like you said,
Hmm.
the writing, just the animation, the style of it, and even, the cast. I was besides the ones that came back from the movie, even people that had just little small roles in it,
Hmm.
I thought were great. They even have, like, Weird Al, Yankovic,
Oh yeah.
narrates one of the episodes. Is like, "What is going on? These must be Edgar Wright's friends that they have because he doesn't have anything to do with Scott Pilgrim." But,
Yeah.
yeah, there was just so many, great people that come in and provide their talents.
Well,
And I
Scott Pilgrim seems right up Weird Al's alley. You know, like if
Yeah.
anything's gonna be up his alley, that seems like one of the things.
Yeah. I wonder, I've never like, I follow him on Instagram, but I've never seen him post like, "Hey, I'm reading Scott Pilgrim." Like, a lot of times celebrities have, like, the things that they love, they'll post about it or they'll talk about it.
Hmm.
I don't know, maybe he's a secret maybe you're onto something. Maybe Weird Al is a secret Scott Pilgrim fan. If anybody
Hmm.
knows out there, let us know. Leave a comment down below if you know more about Weird Al than I do. But yeah, man, I'm really happy that you got to experience this and that you enjoyed it. And I'm very happy that you joined me here in the Vactorverse. You were very kind and generous, not only with your time today, but we had some scheduling things and you were always flexible with me. So thank you very much for
So were
being
you,
so
friend.
generous. Excellent. Well, you know what? We have talked about Scott Pilgrim before on another episode, but
Hmm.
I'm curious, you, the listener or the viewer out there, what did you think about Scott Pilgrim Takes Off? If you had any other um, interesting observations or things, let us know in the comments down below. We love hearing from you here in the Vactorverse, and we would hope that you would join us again on the next episode. Thank you.